Very good evening, viewers. Those were the top headlines, and this is, of course, a specially curated show every weeknight at 7 where we focus on the stories from down south. And today's top story, the Kaveri water dispute between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu has been ongoing since the start of the 20th century. Multiple efforts have been made, be it well politically, legally, there have been efforts even diplomatically to end the tussle over sharing of the river water. Now, in May this year, when the Congress party under Siddaramaiah took charge of Karnataka, it was expected that the water wars will finally end, considering the Congress is in alliance with the DMK in Tamil Nadu. But, well, it wasn't to be. Both the sides have dug in their heels, while Karnataka claims it cannot adhere to releasing the amount of water that has been requested by Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is very clear. Fulfill the request or meet us in the Supreme Court, they say. Now, in the light of the warning by the DMK government, the Congress government in Karnataka has decided that they will release about 10,000 million cubic feet of water to the neighbouring state. Speaking exclusively to Mirror Now here, Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivakumar, who is also the Irrigation Minister, has said that the move was taken to avoid the Supreme Court's wrath. Though keeping in mind their own state's political situation, D.K. Shivakumar added that he will also write to the Kaveri Water Board to reevaluate the quantity of water which needs to be released. Let's listen to this.
Sir, over the entire Kaveri issue, we're seeing that the government has released water to Tamil Nadu, but politics has broken out over this. The BJP is questioning why it was released at a time when there was deficit, sir.
We are a responsible government. We can't every day fight with the courts. I don't want to comment on when BJP government was there, when Janata Dal government was there, how waters was being released on various issues. Now also I have been requesting the authority to reconsider the decision. I am writing a letter to them also. You have to please reconsider the decision, whatever the minutes has happened.
Well, meanwhile, the opposition in Karnataka, primarily the BJP and the JDS, are up in arms over the Siddaramaiah government's decision to share water with Tamil Nadu at this point in time. Former Chief Minister, Mr. Basavaraj Bommai, has lambasted the Congress, saying that the move was dictated by their political compulsions. He went on to add that the government has put its own political interests above the people of the state.
Sir, the farmers today have called for protest. They are particularly angry over Minister D.K. Shivkumar's statement that the farmers required they themselves should go to the court.
Yeah, it is totally irresponsible of the water resource minister. It is his duty and people have elected this Congress people to safeguard the interest of the state. It is so surprising that this minister says that I don't have anything. He says I don't have a key of the dam. He says that farmers only to go to the court. You are the government. You have got all the authority. And we all know that in all previous cases, no individuals have local standing in interstate water disputes. Only states has to file. He has said that I should not politicize. I am the last person to politicize the interstate water dispute.
Well, now from one former chief minister to the other, H.D. Kumaraswamy from the JDS was fierce as well in his criticism. Now, he says, and he rather reiterated what Mr. Bommai also said, saying that while the previous governments also dealt with the Kaveri dispute but never gave up the state's interest, he says.
Sir, just wanted to check with you. 10 TMC of water to release that a decision has been taken. Mr. D.K. Shivakumar says that there are legal issues under the legal framework they are working and they're not able to do anything about it. What do you make of the move, sir?
Brother, without taking any proper decision or taking any advice from any experts, single-handedly, this government, this minister has taken the decision to release 10 TMC of water.
So in your tweet, you have also, mentioned about how this could have something to do with the alliance with DMK and the overall India alliance ahead of 2024.
No, to please Tamil Nadu, to please DMK, this government has taken the decision to release the water, even with the shortage. Is there any direction from Kaveri Water Management Board to release the water?
On one hand, you're looking at, of course, the political reactions that have been coming in, who've been cornering the Congress government. Meanwhile, of course, farmers in Mandya also protested. They've been protesting yesterday in Srirangpatna. They protested again today in front of the KRS dam. They've been citing that already there's a massive shortage of water for the farmers in the state. Meanwhile, the Congress government is out there to distribute water to Tamil Nadu, is a charge coming in from the farmers.
Well, currently we're standing over here at the KRS Dam, where you can see that the Mandya Farmer Association is protesting over here against the state government and demanding the state government to not release the water to the Tamil Nadu, where after the Deputy Chief Minister DK Shivakumar statement on Tuesday that the state government has resolved to release 10 TMC of Kaveri river water to Tamil Nadu, while expressing concerns on the water storage situation faced by the Karnataka's own farmers. Where here you can see that the farmers over here are protesting right in front of the KRS dam over here, and also now that the state government has also approved to give 10 TMC of water to the Tamil Nadu government, where you can also see that the farmers over here and also the MLA from the Male Kote is also over here in protest with the farmers. They're protesting and they're also going towards the main gate over here at the KRS dam, and also they are literally demanding for the state government to not release water on day-to-day basis, because the farmers over here will face a lot of issues if the Karnataka allows to release water to Tamil Nadu.
Well, Madhu M Rao, spokesperson from the BJP, advocate Nikhil Jain, political analyst, Dr. Sharacha, also Lele, distinguished fellow from Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and Environment with us. And also we have Leela Fernandes, political scientist and author of Governing Water in India, who's also joining us from Michigan. Thanking all our guests at this point in time. Let me bring in first here Mr. Nikhil Jain. Mr. Nikhil Jain, how do you really look at the Congress's position at this point in time? Because from all corners, the Congress is receiving firing, because they're saying that you have the Lok Sabha elections coming up. You share the dais with the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister. Right now, the interests of the farmers, drinking water needs of the people of Bengaluru and even along the Kaveri basin is required to be met. But, water is being released without even a legal fight is the charge from the BJP and the JDS.
Minister for Water Resources in Karnataka, DK Shivakumar, has already made it clear that he can't go to the courts every single time that there is a demand for release of water or for retention of water. The Kaveri Water Management Authority has clearly said that 10,000 cusecs of water is to be released to Tamil Nadu. Earlier, it was supposed to be 15,000 cusecs per day. However, the Tamil Nadu government is claiming 24,000 cusecs a day, but what the Karnataka government is releasing right now is 10,000. So, for the BJP to make a political issue out of it is nothing but a low-blow form of politics. So far as the farmers protesting in Mandya is concerned, I very well understand their concerns and I have my complete sympathies with them. But at the end of the day, we must realize that Tamil Nadu is a part of India. Tamil Nadu also requires water. Its farmers also require water. Karnataka's farmers may or may not understand the larger macro picture, but the fact is that everybody will have to compromise and adjust with the limited amount of water resources available in the region, available in the country. And for that, some water would have to be feeded by farmers in Tamil Nadu, some water would have to be feeded by the farmers in Karnataka. And all of these things is precisely the job of the various bodies that have been created to, determine how much water is to be given to Tamil Nadu and how much water is to be given to Karnataka. Bodies like the Kaveri Water Regulation Committee, Kaveri Water Management Authority, the Kaveri Water Disputes Tribunal, and all of these. Now, for the governments to keep on fighting and approaching the Supreme Court or these tribunals that every time a release order is made, that is simply, I think a hindrance in the federalistic structure of the country. And for the BJP to instigate this Congress government to do that is nothing but a disrespect to the rule of law.
Okay, we've already heard Mr. Bommai speak, Mr. Madhu, about, him making that charge that this is the India alliance that's talking here. But, when we speak to some of the Congress leaders, they say, well, what happened, to the entire promise that they made earlier? They didn't live up to any of the promises. They were at the state and the center. They're talking about how you didn't probably go forward with the Mekedatu. Even when it came to other water irrigation projects in Karnataka, all of them took a backseat under the BJP is what the Congress has been maintaining through the course of the day, Mr. Madhu.
Deepak, good evening. I was just listening to one of the panelists, Advocate Mr. Jain. Perhaps he's not aware of so many issues in Karnataka. I mean, for a moment, let us understand one thing. Give me an uninterrupted time of just 2 minutes. I will just finish it up. You know, the problem always arises whenever there is a water distress time. That is during the failed monsoons. You must understand that the catchment area of the Kaveri has received almost 30% less rains this year. The Karnataka State Natural Disaster Monitoring Committee has told there is 63% deficiency of rains in August. This being the scenario, absolutely there is less water in KRS dam and also the other dams which are in the catchment area. Now the current capacity is a 32 TMC of water and the KRS dam total capacity is 49 TMC of water. Now let me remind you one thing. We have already released 18 TMC of water as taken as measuring at the Biligundlu measuring center just in the border of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, point one. And they're asking for 26 TMC of water. The Minister for Tamil Nadu. Let us try to understand. Just now the gentleman was talking that we have to compromise and we have to, we have to share the water. This is what we have done. In out of 26 TMC of water, we have released 18 TMC of water. And what is this government doing? I mean, don't tell me if the fact Mr. D.K. Shivakumar is the Deputy Chief Minister of Karnataka and heaven's sake, he is not for Tamil Nadu. Let him take the interest of Karnataka first. Is he been elected in Karnataka or is he been elected in Tamil Nadu? I understand that we are in a federal structure, but please, for heaven's sake, CM is on record to say that it will be difficult to release water. And the irrigation minister has told the farmers of Karnataka and the catchment basin of the Kaveri, please do not use water, don't ask water for the farming purposes. And look at the situation now. The Tamil Nadu government is asking for more water. Now, let me give you just 30 seconds of the data. Now, our Bommai has already told that they have already used 32 TMC of water for 1.8 lakh hectares of cultivational land for Kuravai crop. But they have already used 60 TMC of water, which is more than 4 lakh hectares of Kuravai crop there. I mean, we have already given water. Therefore, we are telling our government, you are only trying to.
But Mr. Rao, the question that comes up here is when the Congress is, arguing that they are just trying to work under the legal, framework. Because if they go to the Supreme Court, if there is an order that comes in from there to release more water, won't that put the farmers in a worse situation?
Deepak, Mr. D.K. Shivakumar is dancing to the tunes of their INDIA partners in Tamil Nadu. Can't he tell the CWIMA, kindly look at this position. It is a water distress year. We do not have a normal water year where 177 TMC of water had to be released. We have already released 18 TMC water in spite of distress. This is what we need to tell the court of the CWIMA. Doesn't he know about it? And here we have a political analyst coming and telling, no, we cannot fight. Congress cannot fight. Then damn you, then you just resign and get out of this government. It is an issue of farmers in Karnataka. Night and day and night.
Well, let's take it down a notch. Let's take it down a notch. Let's take it down a notch and have. Okay, Mr. Rao, let's take it down a notch. I'll come back to Mr. Nikhil Jain to actually rebut that, but also let's bring in Dr. Lele as well here. Dr. Sharat Chandra Lele, if you could take us through at this point in time, of course, you have, probably closely monitored as far as this year's rainfall is concerned. And how our catchment areas react to this amount of rainfall. We believe at this point in time, the information that we're gathering is that as far as our reservoirs are concerned, about 42% less amount of water has been accumulated here. Now, in such a situation, how do you really look at, Karnataka dealing with it? Do we expect the rainfall to increase and hope that it does and release the water right now? Because I don't want you to get into the specifics of what the management board says and the understanding between the two states. But when you speak about predicting rainfall, especially the kind of changes that we've seen in terms of monsoon patterns, can Karnataka expect the situation to really improve in the coming days?
I think we should not be casting this in such a narrow sense. Of course, climate predictions are going to be very tricky, and we know, broadly speaking, it is possible that this year's rainfall is going to be lower than usual. It has been lower than average. It is likely to continue in that fashion. So this is a distress year. There is no question about it. And while the award that was given in 2007 and then modified in 2018 by the Supreme Court follows broadly the correct principle of equitable sharing of water based upon need, and not just one extreme of Karnataka owning all the water that falls within Karnataka, or the other extreme that Tamil Nadu gets all the water because that's what they have been historically using. I think the awards have been relatively fair. The scientific basis of the awards has been relatively limited because they have made essentially the award based on 50% dependability yields, and they haven't really specified beyond saying that the inner distress here, the distress will be proportionately shared. Now, this is easy to say, hard to implement. So, for example, in a normal year, if Karnataka is expected to release 50 TMC in the month of August, if we know at the beginning of August that July has been a deficit month, what exactly do we do in the month of August remains a question that cannot be simply, you can't simply take numbers and multiply and divide by certain factors. We know July is deficit. Seems like August is likely to be deficit. What is the extent of deficit? What is the deficit in rainfall translating into in terms of deficit in inflows? Because the award has been written based on assumptions about inflows into the river, the flows in the river itself, not the total rainfall. And that is a limitation or a weakness in the award. The award should have been based on the full rainfall in the basin, the full water availability and utilization in the basin, including consumption by rain-fed crops, consumption by groundwater irrigated crops, and then, of course, lifting from the river or diversion from the river. So these are the limitations of the award. Nevertheless, it's clear that if in the month of August we were supposed to release 50 TMC, the order from the Kaveri Water Management Agency has been to release 10,000 cusecs of water per day for the next 15 days, which amounts to about 13 TMC. That is a fair reduction in the, it is an attempt to follow the pro rata policy, saying, fine, if we are at about 50% shortage in rainfall, let's release 50% of the amount that was originally allocated. If the normal year amount is 50, let's do 13 TMC for the second half of this month. I think that's a reasonable approach to prorating. It will not be perfect. We have no perfect knowledge about how the rainfall will behave in the coming 15 days or the next 1 month or 2 months. So everybody has to acknowledge that there is uncertainty, and farmers in both sides of the border know about this. And if left to themselves, I think they will resolve these issues. They will see the uncertainty and try to work within that uncertainty, as long as we stay away from politicizing the issue.
Okay, I'm going to try and bring in Leela Fernandes as well here to give her a perspective to this entire issue, both political and in terms of the entire water sharing issue and the requirement drinking and agrarian as well. Ms. Fernandes.
Yes, there's a short-term set of issues and long-term issues. In the short-term, just building on what the previous guest said, I completely agree. Both sides are having very difficult situations where they're balancing an overused river, basically. And what has to happen, what is really critical, is for the decisions to happen through the regulatory authority rather than become politicized. Because as all of you know, this has been decades long in the Supreme Court, and every time there's an issue, it's really not healthy for it to get bumped up. So when there are distress years, it's the authority that has to really look at the scientific evidence and make those difficult decisions without it becoming politicized. So in the short term, it's really critical for the regulation to work, even though everybody's in some sense going to be unhappy because there is a water shortage. But long term, there really has to be more civil society building, more institutional building between the two states, so that farmers are not pitted against each other within Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. And also there has to be more thought about both rural and urban development in terms of how we are thinking about water usage and water budgets. So for example, thinking even when we draw in industrial investment, when states are already water stressed, is the investment layering more pressures on water scarcity? So they're very important issues of cooperative federalism and development, which are much more long-term. But given the pressures of climate change, this is not going to go away. And so we don't want this to keep erupting, because even if the governments change and the political leaders change, there's always an incentive for the opposition to mobilize around these kinds of issues. So depoliticizing it is very critical for the healthy sort of functioning of both states.
If I could just very quickly add to what Professor Fernandes said, I think
Ms. Fernandes, you would say that don't politicize it, but this has been a long-standing political issue here in Karnataka. If anything, it is going to continue to remain political unless the two parties, the three parties, in fact, JDS also is very deeply involved in this issue because it's their home turf of sorts, the entire Kaveri belt.
Deepak, I have a point to make.
Mr. Nikhil, what would you like to say to that? That this should become apolitical. This issue should not really be bumped up.
Deepak, I exactly agree. I definitely and absolutely agree with Ms. Fernandes and Dr. Lele when they talk about the problems that the states have faced and why there isn't a need to politicize this. And one very important fact I'd like to bring to the notice of your audience, that the decision to release 10,000 cusecs of water...
Right now you're backing the Congress party, but before the elections, the Congress party did an entire yatra for Mekedatu. Wasn't that politicizing? You also had the Mahadai issue that, of course, the Congress turned up multiple times. So, I mean, it's easier to speak on the other side of the fence, isn't it?
Deepak, one short point I want to make. The Cauvery Water Management Authority that gave the direction to Karnataka government to release 10,000 cusecs of water to Tamil Nadu, which the Karnataka government is today following, that authority is under the Department of Water Resources, Government of India, of which Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, the Union Jal Shakti Minister, is the minister in charge. So if my friends from the BJP really think that what is being done with Karnataka is wrong, I think the first person he should approach is the ministers of his party. So either the government of India is acting unfairly against the people of Karnataka or the BJP of Karnataka is unnecessarily politicizing this issue. He'll have to pick one side on this. My thing is that this is a professional body, this is a professional organization. If they've directed 10,000 cusecs, there has to be a rationale for it. And the BJP in Karnataka needs to stop politicizing.
You cannot say that the Congress, while you were in the opposition for the last 4 years before this, it's not that you didn't take on the BJP, even while there was, of course, enough rainfall, and even during those times, there have been political statements that have been made on the Kaveri issue. So now, you can't say holier than thou and sit on that side of the fence and say, let BJP not politicize it at this point in time. Because at the end of the day, the opposition needs to voice, its concerns for the people. And the JDS and the BJP is raising a question that, well, have you met the needs of, the agrarian needs of the people in Karnataka?
No,
have you
forget agrarian needs. We don't have,
out in the court because you didn't even raise an objection is what the
water
argument from the BJP here is.
Deepak, we won't have water for drinking water purposes. That is what Kumaraswamy has told. The agriculture minister is on record to say that we don't have water. We
okay,
hold on. Have water for
Mr. Rao, Mr. Rao, let Mr. Jain complete. Let Mr. Jain complete. I'll come back to you. Mr. Rao, hold on.
That if indeed the decision is wrong, if indeed the decision is wrong to release that much amount of water to Tamil Nadu, why does Mr. Rao and his state unit not approach their central unit and ask the Cauvery Water Management Authority to reconsider its decision? Why does one authority under the central government of the BJP direct something and the state BJP ask the state Congress government to flout that?
I think this is an interesting aspect because I asked this to Mr. Rao earlier as well, that this was a charge coming in from the Congress that you haven't done anything being at the center and in the state in the past. Even now the center probably can do its bit, but at the end of the day, everyone wants to gain political brownie points. Why don't you look at how best you can resolve this issue amicably? Be it the state or the center coming together, Mr. Rao.
Deepak, the Cauvery Water Management Authority is a constitutional authority. Kindly let my advocate friend not confuse saying that it is under the government of India. Point one. Now, point two. We in Karnataka, Kumaraswamy, who's the agricultural minister, he is on record to say we do not have enough water for drinking purposes. How can we give water for agrarian purpose? Point three. 12 lakh acres of agrarian land in Mandya district, Hassan district, as well as in Mysore district are at stake because the government has told we will not release water for you. Look at for alternative sources for the purpose of agriculture. And here we have the Tamil Nadu government for which the DK Shivakumar is in conjunction with them to say that, okay, we will release water. Now look at the fact. I am only telling the fact. They have already taken 62 TMC of 60 TMC of water for 4 lakh hectares. I mean, where is the equality here? Where is the proportionality here? This is what we are expecting the Congress government. Please help the farmers in Karnataka first. You have been elected for Karnataka. You please fight for Karnataka. Apart from that, they have their own political gains to help their ally in Tamil Nadu. This is not fair. This is what we are asking for.
Please, you go to CWMA, you go to Supreme Court. That is your
Mr. Jain, to this
The point is
specific
simple.
charge, because we've
We are
been hearing
asking
this
the
all
DKs
day
to go there.
that, this is all about the India alliance. This is not a time where, the Congress can rub off DMK or any other alliance partner in a wrong manner. And that's the reason whatever happens, they're just saying, yes, man.
Exactly.
Now go to the website of the
Mr. Jain, to that particular charge that's coming in,
look at the organization chart. Look at the organization chart. It is not an independent constitutional body. It is a body under the central government. It is a body under the Minister of Jal Shakti, Government of India, which is Gajendra Singh Shekhawat. It is not an independent constitutional body.
Please ask Tamil Nadu government not to go away from the CWMA meeting. Why did they get away from the CWMA meeting? You please ask them to stay in the CWMA meeting and discuss. This is what we are asking for. Why did they get away from the CWMA meeting? You please tell your ally to be in the CWMA meeting.
Ask your own minister. Ask your own minister.
You are speaking for Karnataka. You are speaking for Karnataka Congress. You are speaking for Karnataka Congress. You do not know what is happening in Karnataka. In spite of that, you are speaking for Karnataka government.
Okay, let me bring in Mr. Lele. Mr. Lele, how do you really view this? Because, we've had heated debates over this politically. But, while certain points were made that whether at a time of crisis, do you prioritize drinking water needs of the people, or do you prioritize agrarian needs? Or is there like a combination that can be worked out?
I think the national water policy as well as state water policies are fairly clear that drinking water needs are to be prioritized before you serve agricultural needs. Nevertheless, we should also remember that drinking water needs are, very small. A small fraction comes from the Kaveri River itself. I mean, even in Bangalore, for instance, we talk about the amount that's coming from the Kaveri, and we forget that an almost equal amount comes from groundwater. So it's not as if drinking water the system is going to completely collapse if you cut down the allocation by 5 to 10% or 20%. The second point being that the drinking water use is a small fraction of the total allocation to Karnataka or Tamil Nadu of water. The water use is primarily agricultural. So the hit that happens in a drought year is going to be felt by agriculture on both sides. Now, both sides can be unreasonable and talk about how their farmers are suffering, or both sides can be reasonable and say this is a drought year and farmers throughout the basin are going to suffer to some extent, and how do we best cope with that kind of reduced rainfall and reduced water availability in the agricultural sector. I think the CWMA order, broadly speaking, follows the lines of the tribunal and the Supreme Court award of 2018 and follows the idea of pro rata sharing of distress. You can, of course, debate the fine details about whether, what is the basis of calculating this figure of 10,000 cusecs or whatever it is that the CWMA said. But the idea of sharing the distress is embedded in this order. So the question now is, should Tamil Nadu keep shouting for 26 instead of 10? That is again political posturing. Similarly, parties here saying this is too much is also probably mostly political posturing. The long-term solution, as Professor Fernandes said, is also the question of how do we move away from
Mr. Lele, the question really that comes up is, do politicians want a long-term solution? Because now you have, allies who are sitting in two different governments in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Why aren't they having dialogue? Because if they can meet and have, meetings for political reasons for 2024, you might as well sit down. The Water Resources Minister of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu could sit down here because they're allies.
I think this process has to be given time. The 2018 Supreme Court order, we are now 5 years after that. The CWMA has been formed. There has been a lot of political change in both sides of the border. So we have to give this process time. It is not that overnight the politicization will, disappear.
Okay, let's also have Mr. Jain respond to that too. Mr. Nikhil Jain, if you could tell us, do you think that probably some sort of political dialogue here could have been made so that you don't have a situation where protests are erupting, where the BJP is hitting out at the Congress party? Do you feel that could have been possible considering your allies?
Deepak, I think the political solution to this dispute could have been possible had the BJP not been doing this excessive, aggressive posturing in Karnataka. Because let's understand the ground realities. When the principal opposition party in a state is protesting against the ruling party in the state, saying that these people are not looking for the rights of our state, but they're talking about the rights of the other state, it becomes very difficult for the ruling party of that state, the Congress in this case, to sit at the table with the ruling party of another state. And that is the problem, that all of this could have been prevented and, all of this could have been prevented had the BJP acted like a constructive opposition and not as an obstructionist opposition as they love to have. This is a problem that needs to find a solution from across the states and across party lines. I don't think the Congress and the DMK alone can solve it. I think the AIDMK as well as the BJP in Karnataka and the JDS in Karnataka, all of these parties need to come on board, figure out a consultative political consensus on the issue and not politicize it. If the Congress has politicized it in the past, I feel it's wrong.
Okay, Mr. Rao,
Now,
because
if the
time and
BJP is
again,
doing it
like
today,
Mr. Jain said, there have been instances where we've seen opposition leaders sit down with the government, with the chief minister, discuss about how to handle situations like this. Wasn't that a scenario that was possible here?
Well, Deepak, let me remind you of one thing. You're just going 100 steps ahead. Look at this government. They're telling the farmers, you please go to court. I mean, does this government know that between an interstate water dispute, can farmers go? I mean, this is the level at which this government is operating, and you're expecting 100 step further things to be thought of. And for what my friend Jain told, let me remind him one thing. It's not that BJP is protesting. It's the farmers in the basin are protesting, and we are hearing their views. There are 12 lakh acres of land which is at stake now because they're asking water. And this government, without even asking, without even telling, without even informing, they have let out the water. And we should get to know only from the fact that the water has been released from the dam. I mean, what is this government trying to do? Had there been some amount of responsibility in this government, they should have at least gone before the court or CWMA. Let them go. I mean, to say that we do not want to go to court.
Okay, I'm running seriously short of time here. I'll also take in a last closing comment from Ms. Fernandes too. Ms. Fernandes, where do you see this solution? Do you see it happen politically? Do you see it happening in the courts? Because this is something that's happened for decades now, and there's no solution at sight. And of course, a lot of factors here, including the environment, come into play.
Yeah, the protests are understandable, and the depoliticization is not easy, but there's only two immediate things that can be done. The CWMA has to retain authority so that it maintains a kind of depoliticized space. And secondly, there have to be other kinds of citizen-based organizations that build ties between the states, separate from political parties, so that citizens themselves can start to see things in a deeper way, because the farmers are understandably upset because the distress is real. But the work is not easy, but it really has to be done because there is no long-term solution besides both sharing the pain and then coming up with different sustainable options for development.
Right. Well, I thank all our panelists. Of course, you've all voiced different opinions, different views, but the issue at hand, of course, is something that could continue in the coming days if Karnataka does not receive ample amount of rainfall, especially Bengaluru, the catchment area, and Kodagu in particular. Let's hope that the situation increases and we do not have to really fight for drinking water, especially between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. I'm thanking all our guests once again for joining us. We're moving on to another story that's coming in from Karnataka. The Karnataka government's decision